Okay. Winter is coming. Theme for the whole week, the whole slate of AEW programming actually was themed that not just the Dynamite. But we're talking about Dynamite first, so here we go. Show opened up with John Moxley and Pac uh with taking on Jay White and Orange Cassidy. Real good way to start stuff off. Crowd was hot. These smaller venues are really paying off already because it's much better to be in a packed smaller venue than it is to be in an echoey, half full bigger venue. Because the energy is just there. When you're forced to be all together and you're all experiencing that same thing, it's a much different experience as an audience member than when you are. I mean, most of my better wrestling memories come from like indie shows because those are like you're all communally together. You're packed to the gills. The energy is it's not mitigated by anything. It just bounces from person to person. It's just an echo chamber in a good way of excitement. So this was already we're already feeling the benefits of the shows last week for moving to those arenas. Same thing continues here. Crowd was hot for it the whole time. Lots of moving parts in this one because they're heading up for a four-way here, so they had to have a lot of moving parts, especially with Christian Cage hanging out with his fake sons in the upper deck there. Like
Yeah.
he's just watching, he's conducting his business, and then he sends Kip Sabian and Mother Wayne and Nick Wayne off somewhere like halfway through the match. Doesn't really we never really figure out why they were waved off, what he had them do, whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Um, anyway, so they're watching from the skybox, and man, I cannot get over the insane chemistry that John Moxley has with Orange Cassidy of all people. Like it's insane. Every time they're in there together, they just have this electricity between the way they work with each other. It's next level stuff. Um, and this might be a slightly spicy take. I honestly think their dynamic is better than even the best matches that Mox had with Seth Rollins in WWE. I honestly think just the chemistry is there. He's a big bully versus this little small plucky guy who's way better than anybody gives him credit for. It just works. Um Finish came when uh Moxley, who was selling a lot more than he normally does throughout this entire match, especially at the beginning. He was because the baby faces jumped the heels before the match started, and they put a beating to him for a good like 5 minutes before they rolled in the ring and the bell actually sounded. But that paid off later because Mox was looking shakier than he's looked in a long time. I gotta say, like they're doing a real good job of finally making him look a little bit more vulnerable. Orange Cassidy was about to finish it off when uh, Hangman did something that I'm sure he was justified in doing, and he caused the very rare AEW DQ finish. Um, yeah, it was weird. I mean, I get it, but like, why here? I don't really know. I mean, probably just to we had that great moment with him and Jay White and Orange Cassidy in the ring, all united, and
Hmm.
now you needed to feed that John Moxley promo that would come later about how all of their egos would do them in, which
Yeah.
is true. Um, it's true. But you need to sow that division because everybody's going into this with their own aims aside from just being the champion. So
Yeah.
I get it from a storyline necessity. I don't really understand why you need to like I don't know. It kind of ruined the flow of what was otherwise a really exciting match. But yeah, the baby faces all beat each other up when Jay White joins the fray. And they're all like kicking each other's butts, and then the Death Riders come and pick the bones basically, and then they just leave. it cuts the promo that I talked about a little bit later in the show. He makes the the 4-way match for World's End official, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the living on knife's edge is the only way to live." And I'm like, dude, I think you need to go back to rehab, but not for drugs. Like you lead a very dangerous lifestyle, and I think Renee probably doesn't really appreciate it. I'm just saying. I don't know her, but uh, oh yeah, after the match, that it was something else I liked a lot. Christian cuts his promo in the skybox afterwards, right? And he's like basically saying that doesn't matter who walks out of that. I may just come in and clean up what's left and everything. And he goes. The camera follows him a little bit further into the skybox, and through the window on the door to the skybox, you see Hook come in into frame, and Christian is it doesn't see him at first, and it's just like, oh, and then Hook just destroys Christian Cage. And I don't think enough people are talking about this, but Hook almost committed a murder himself by hanging
Yeah.
Christian over the edge of the railing there. Like he he was looking he was looking for crime. Get get Simon Miller to up the crime counter one
Yeah,
more
crime
time
counter.
before 2024 ends, because that was an attempted murder. It's contagious in that AEW locker room, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, but yeah, Kip and Nick eventually come in, from whatever errand they were on, and they kind of even the score a little bit. But eventually Hook's able to escape. It was a great thing because we hadn't seen Hook in a couple of weeks, really, and him just showing up there, like in a surprise in the doorway, brilliant, inspired piece of cinematography and placement. I thought that was great. Um, Next match was Claudio versus Will Ospreay in the Gold League, the Continental Classic. Will Ospreay even the score. He and Claudio are both at 6 points in the Gold League, both tied for leading that. Good stuff. I feel like this was like a 3.5 star match that is priming us for a rematch later down the road with higher stakes that's going to be really good. Like this seemed like this was setting something up. Like this is a teaser for what you're going to get later. That may be months down the line for all I know, but I don't. I think they on purpose kind of held back a little bit so that they had more to show for an upcoming sequel.
Yeah.
That being said, it's Will Ospreay, it's Claudio Castagnoli. I don't think they could have a bad match with a ring full of Grammys. Like, like it was great stuff. Claudio just lifts at one point. He just lifts Ospreay dead weight off the mat from a prone position on his stomach. Like the insane strength of this man is just it surprises me every time, even though I've been seeing him wrestle for like 15 years now. Like every single time, it just he keeps on surprising me. Um, the finish comes when Claudio tries for the running lariat, though he didn't. That's one in his first 6 points, but he didn't set up like the last time, so it didn't work. He didn't put him out on the floor for a 9 count, then hit him with it, so it didn't work. Uh,
Yeah.
I still think that lariat should be an uppercut, a running uppercut. It's much more Claudio. It's. I mean, everybody uses the lariat. Like, no disrespect to the people who do really good lariats, especially, but like everybody does one. Not super special.
Yeah.
When everybody does one. Um, but yeah, he did that, and then a little bit later, they do the pop up into the European uppercut for a real close two count. Uh, though that's what set up the lariat. But then he tries for the Ricola bomb, but Ospreay rolls him up for the surprise 3 count. And then he gets hit with the neutralizer for his troubles, but after the bell. So no, it's not bitter at all from Claudio. But
No,
yeah,
not at
like
all.
that's gonna that's gonna set things up. That's I'm good with that. Um, so all right. Well, let's talk about Ricochet versus Brody King first because I thought this was fantastic. I honestly thought this was match of the night. Not gonna lie, I thought this was match of the night because they had set it up with a promo from Ricochet that was kind of weird. He was being kind of rude and obnoxious and uh, in a way that we hadn't really seen him before. And it was
Hmm.
like, okay, well, we saw kind of glimpses of his match with Commander that he was kind of leaning a little bit more aggressive and stuff like that. So this seems to be heading in a direction. But uh, here against Brody King, oh my gosh, he was hilarious. Ricochet was friggin' hilarious in his selling. He got his. It was like there are dominant matches, and then there's this. I wouldn't call it a squash necessarily because of the results, because I mean that defies the definition of a squash if the result is the opposite of what you think. But this literally was like 90% Brody King. And he was just throwing him from pillar to post. And Ricochet the whole time was bumping like a maniac and saying, oh God, don't hit me again. Like he was way over the top. It was like Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan level stuff. Like it was like as soon as he started doing that, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm invested in this Ricochet heel turn now because this is hilarious and far more personality than we've ever seen Ricochet being allowed to show on the big stage.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the moves. He does the flips. He does the superhero poses. He does the double moonsaults. He does all the crazy stuff, and that's like kind of all he was. Because, I mean, there's an argument to be there that that's kind of all you need to a degree
Yeah.
until you need more. It'll get you so far. And now he's being asked, and I'm sure that he asked for this. He's being asked to show more personality, and he's showing personality all right. Like he's antagonizing the crowd. He's overselling Brody King, saying, "Oh, don't let him hit me again." Like, it was so entertaining, and Ricochet winds up getting a not so clean win. I don't think he pulled the pad off on purpose. I think
Mm.
it played it like an accident. But when Brody King
Yeah.
hit his head several times on the ring because of accidents, and then when Ricochet threw him into it, Ricochet played it off more like, well, I didn't plan for this, but you know what? I'm okay with it, and he got the 3 points. Like, uh, honestly, if you were gonna have Brody King lose, this is a good way to protect him in that loss. Like,
Mm.
I mean, he dominated the whole thing and only lost due to hitting his head, not just once, even like he hit his head 3 times on that metal ring. Like
Yeah.
that's a totally reasonable way for somebody to lose, anybody to lose. So,
Yeah.
by wrestling standards, I thought this was really, really good for the story that it told, for the character arc that it's pushing for Ricochet, for an excuse for Brody King to not destroy literally everybody in the block. you know, because let's be real here, he probably should be doing that. But yeah, no, this was I was very pleasantly over the moon about this match. I really, really liked where they took it. Uh, Back to a similar thing though that we've mentioned. I've mentioned on several weeks in a row now. The Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly stuff just didn't hit. It wasn't bad. It was just I've seen so many of their matches together that did better. Like the one that comes to mind immediately. Have you ever seen their? I think it was like 2012 in Ring of Honor. They had like this weird, like MMA style inspired match. They called it a hybrid rules match. I think it was on Death Before Dishonor, maybe. I'm thinking in 2012, and
Maybe.
It was like this 12-minute match, but they beat the crap out of each other to the point where just blood erupted from Adam Cole's face. And it was really, really gritty and MMA inspired. And like I think that it was the only time that they did a hybrid rules match like that. But like that's the one that sticks out to me that was like way better than this one. This was like I love Kyle O'Reilly and I love Adam Cole, but I'm tired of this storyline. I want it to just end.
Yeah.
Hopefully with Adam Cole relieving Max of that diamond ring on his hand. Because I'm done with the diamond too. I hate it. It's been 5 years. Get a new thing. Like, I mean, with all the creative ways that MJF cheats anyway, why does he need the ring? Like, he's
Right.
so much more creative than that. Just continue to come up with new stuff. It's not like he wrestles every week. He's the guy who's there the least. Like, at least in the position that he's in, he's got time to come up with new stuff to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, Cole he wins after MJF's interference kind of backfires on him. MJF did actually show up to work this week, uh, but it's just like I'm just glad that this is hopefully. I hope that Tony Khan, if he wasn't planning on having this be the final act of this thing, I hope he just pulls an audible and he just ends it.
Mhm.
Like I would prefer if Cole went over and relieves him of the ring, and then we never have to deal with it again. But I don't even really care all that much as long as it ends. Like MJF could destroy Adam Cole, and I wouldn't be happy about that, but at least it would be over. You know, I miss Samoa Joe. Can we have Samoa Joe come out and choke the life out of MJF, please? That would be
Pretty
great.
please.
Pretty please. I miss that. I miss that big man. That guy a year ago was the world champion,
hmm
and now he went off to film a silly movie, and he hasn't been seen in weeks and weeks, and he's probably just going to go back to beating up Chris Jericho instead. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Uh, Ended the show with Mariah May defending the World Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa. Wasn't like huge into this until until last week when they did that like 30-second, 60-second promo package for it.
hmm
Really well done. And it was like, oh wow, I'm actually kind of hyped for this now. Like even though I knew the outcome was pretty. I mean, the outcome was. Uh, come on, nobody thought Mina was going to win. She's over. It's great. I
hmm
love I love that Mina's over. She's over with me. I love Mina, but like she had no chance of winning this match. Come
Yeah.
on. This was kind of back and forth, a little sloppy, actually. Like I don't know if they've ever actually like faced each other before. Like I know they were a tag team in Stardom. I don't know if they've ever faced each other before. But this looked kind of like their chemistry just seemed kind of off. I don't know if it was because of they were in the main event and they had a big moment to set up or whatever. But like I mean it's not that it wasn't bad. It was just it could have been better. Uh,
hmm
Mariah actually hits what I thought was cool was Mariah actually hits the Mayday, which we haven't seen her use since she won the title. We haven't seen her use it in months, and it only got a two. It was notably she can only win with Tony's finish. She can only win with the Storm Zero. It's become instead of what started out as a way to continue to needle and stick it to Tony Storm has now become a crutch for me. And I think that's probably going to play into future matches. And that attention to detail I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But the big moment was after the match. May won, and Tony Storm's old music hits, her fake Barracuda hits,
Yeah.
or Jimmy Hart version of Barracuda hits. And she comes out looking like she did when she debuted 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever it was. And like she was like the crowd was super into it. Mariah May was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" But Tony was like, she didn't really do anything, and to
Mm.
set the internet on fire because nobody can just, you know, it's like we had the rest of the half. We had two more shows to get through the end of this week to explain the direction here, but nobody could wait, you know, 48 hours until Rampage to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we'll talk on that when we get to it. But I thought this was really well done. I nearly woke up my kids shouting that Tony was back. It was I love Tony Storm, and that's no secret to literally anybody who knows me. I am so glad that she's back. I don't care what iteration she is, and I will gladly accept her. She has been the best character in wrestling for all of 2024, in my estimation. Um, Maybe Hangman, maybe Drew sits there too, but like, man, maybe Christian Cage, Dark Horse, but
Hmm.
but yeah, like she blew everybody's expectations out of the water for her character work, which she never really got much to sink her teeth into before, and she just ran away with it. So I am the direction that they're going with this. I'm really excited to see how it plays down the future, down the line here.
Oh, yeah.
But with that, I think it's time for the Morton.
Yes, it is.